All right, hello again. I'm Dr. Andrew Pittman. So this is my style versus genre video. This is kind of a hard one. If you look up style versus genre in books and online, people are going to give you different opinions, and some people say they're even interchangeable. And I get that argument, and we'll come to that. But let me give you my take, at least in the music up until the 20th century. Okay, so in my opinion, style is how the music sounds. Actually, how the music sounds, versus genre is how the music functions. And let me explain what I mean by that. So an opera, which I'm sure a lot of you are afraid of, but you'll learn to like it, especially if you take my face-to-face class. Opera's amazing. So an opera is simply like a play set to music. Okay? So instead of saying the lines as actors, we just sing them all. Okay? It's just a play that's entirely sung. And you're going to say, well, isn't that a musical? Well, no, a musical is roughly 50% spoken and maybe 50% sung, something to that effect. Plus, there's some dance mixed in there. But it's sort of, maybe you could call it an older fashioned form of musical, but it's just entirely sung. Okay? But, so we could set any play to music, but we could set it in the style of jazz. So we could have a jazz opera, a rock opera, a disco opera, which I think would be awesome, a folk opera, or the three main ones that we would deal with in this class are classical opera, Baroque opera, romantic. And you go, well, those are periods. Yeah, they are periods of time, but they are actually, it's a style. The whole style exists through that period, okay? So Baroque opera, so Baroque becoming a style. So Baroque opera, classical is a style, classical opera, romantic is a style, romantic opera. Now, plain chant would be another style, would be another style, not so much a genre. And so, for instance, we could have a plain chant hymn. So a hymn being the genre, a plain chant motet. You could have a plain chant psalm, plain chant gradual. There are other things in the order of service, at especially higher churches, where plain chant could substitute. So plain chant is the style in which you're singing, but that's not the function, okay? And there actually are specific definitions to hymns and things like that. I'm not going to go into it, but like, for instance, a motet tends to be a direct quote from the Bible, where a hymn tends to be more like someone might take one phrase from the Bible and expand upon it, or I think what's that term? Anthem is actually like a paraphrase of something. There are specific definitions to these genres, but anyway, not going to go into that, and can't think of them all off on the top of my head. But I hope that gives you kind of some idea. So, and just a couple more, like a symphony. Symphony. By the way, there's no symphony before the classical era, but a classical symphony sounds quite different from that of a romantic symphony. Okay? But it's, in a symphony, we typically have 4 movements. So movement 1, movement 2, movement 3, movement 4. So when most people think of Beethoven's Fifth and they hear ba 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 ba, they think that's the whole symphony. Well, that's just movement 1. Then there's a second one, then there's a third one, and then the fourth one is way brighter and more triumphant. Okay? But when someone's composing a symphony, they're thinking of it as a genre, a function, and it can be in different styles. And you could have, for instance, a jazz symphony. You could. So that brings us to modern times with the very, very, very overused genre of song. So if you go to a record store today, which we don't really have, but a CD store, and let's just say a few of those are left, what you'll often find is everything is listed by genre. And I will admit to you that genre is a prettier word than style, okay? But they say, oh, the genre of rock, the genre of jazz, the genre of, I don't know, whatever. And then they have subgenres, subgenre rap versus hip hop. Okay, yeah, we can play that game, but in my opinion, those are all styles of music, and it's just one genre, and that genre is a song, okay? So a song, or even like an art song, typically is something that's self-contained and doesn't belong to anything else. And what do I mean by that? When you have a soloist singing by themselves in an opera, that's called an aria. And that aria is telling the part of a larger story. Okay, so you string a bunch of arias together, some duets, some recitative, and a few choruses, and you're telling a larger story. Whereas the song, I can just sit down right now and just say, hey, my girlfriend broke up with me and I'm sad. And that's just about me, 3 minutes, nothing, doesn't have anything to do with anything else, and that's what we call a song. But I will tell you, songs are often only 3 minutes or so long due to the fact that when recordings were starting in the late 1800s, they started on something called a wax cylinder or an Edison recording, but they only held about 3 minutes worth of music. And so composers writing popular tunes started holding things to those limitations. Now we don't have those limitations anymore, but our attention span is now expecting short things for our songs. So in my opinion, when you go to a CD store, they should just say song is the genre, and then all the other things are style. However, we do this for film too, and I will admit that that genre is a better word, but they're often talking about genres of film. And I know someone out there is going to disagree with me, but really, in my opinion, the genre is film. Where we film literally, where we show a story, okay, like a play, but we show a story on film, and it's supposed to be peeking in on real life. It's not the suspension of disbelief that we get with stage. And that then we would have film as the genre, and then we'd have sub-styles of film. What style are you going to film it in? Okay? So that's my thinking on it. I realize when we get to the 20th century, things get more complicated. But up until about then, I think it should be pretty clear. And for this class, the only two exceptions to this would be is that you're going to answer on one of your tests plain chant in the genre spot. At least if I remember. So really, plain chant is a style. Also, organum is really a style. But everything else, so whether it's opera, motet, whatever, symphony, whatever you have, they're all genres. Okay, and the style is the era. So Middle Ages is a style. In fact, Renaissance becomes a style. Baroque is a style, classical is a style, Romantic is a style, and 20th century is a style. Hope that didn't confuse you more. Anyway, have a good day.